Greetings and welcome, you special little souls, and watch your head as you duck into the circus tent that is JD Killzone. I'm your ringmaster, JD, and today I had to bring the whip down on my own back as I make 12, count them 12 books. This number is not random, no. I'm sure you can tell by the title. I will be making 12 books, one for each of the Astrological Zodiac signs. Each sign has a unique mix of characteristics that I will attempt to integrate into the designs themselves, such as modalities, elements, constellations, all sorts of goodies. Stay tuned for my slow descent from madness into somehow even more madness, as I demonstrate my finest trick yet, somehow following through on 12 entire books in the same project before thinking of another cool idea and abandoning this one before it's complete. If this video lived to see the light of day, you'll know I succeeded in taming the lion that is my creative attention span. We'll also play a little game. Comment below what you think my zodiac sign is and why. I'm just curious to see what people think, since I'm not very familiar with astrology myself. I'll reveal the answer a few days later on the community tab. From the get-go, I've already separated these mixed media pages from their mixed media sketchbooks.
Boom, I'm doing the second. Boom, I'm doing the third.
You realize you're going to be cutting between the shot, yes?
Yeah. Boom, I'm doing the last.
I have also already selected cover sheets, each of a cosmic theme and depiction. I also possessed these lovely little card thingies for each sign in a paper pack I bought a while back, and this is a perfect opportunity to use them. And I have all these cute little charms that I can add to the bookmarks. I've been collecting little horoscope things like a goblin in preparation for this project. What you're currently witnessing is watercolor paint being integrated in a water bath for a dye. While I'm starting with blue, there will be 4 different colors between the 12 books, some of which I just didn't get footage of, so enjoy the simulative depictions, each representing an element. Blue for water signs, green for earth signs, purple for air signs, and pinkish-orangish for fire signs. Each book will consist of 40 sheets, which will equate to 80 leaves or 160 pages when complete, giving this project a grand total of 8 60-page sketchbooks to fulfill. If anyone's curious, these are 7 by 10-inch sketchbook pages, which is my typical medium-sized classification of a journal. At this point in time, which was an embarrassingly long while ago, the weather was very lovely, so I opted to work outside. It's my equivalent of your boss throwing a pizza party for the disgruntled employees, except I'm the boss, and I wasn't really all that disgruntled. For all 12 paper piles, I began by folding the sheets in half and forming the signatures, 4 to a signature with a total of 10 in each book, 480 pages to fold, hole punch, and sew. When creating this project, it first began as a purely aesthetic undertaking, but as I delved into research a bit more to integrate components of design, I actually gleaned some knowledge and subsequently meaning behind my creative choices. Each sign has a few key traits, one of which being the elements that I mentioned earlier. To those who study or practice astrology, elements are recognized as what forms our natural world, each having key traits and roles to maintaining our well-being and well-being of the collective. The fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, are represented by resilience, the ability to bounce back and find strength in the difficult and even the simple. They tend to be dynamic, temperamental, and passionate. Air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, tend to represent bridges and connections. They are known for being powerful, in motion, and quick to acclimate and embrace change. The earth signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are typically the more grounded folk of the planet. They are builders with a solid foundation and strong persistence. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, the water signs, are more emotionally intuitive and creatively dreamy. They are notorious for their internal mood rings, creative inclinations, and sometimes disassociations from reality. After all 12 books have been sewn, late into the sunset and beyond, I press and glue them first directly on their spines, and then atop fine linen that will bind their twill tapes, stitches, and general shape together into a more permanent state. I always graciously allow them ample time to dry out of the goodness of my heart, usually around 24 hours each. I am now taking a detour from my typical process here while all those books dry over many days between my two highly professionally crafted book presses, one of which has actually been snapped in half because I stepped on it once, but I still use it anyway. Each of these books needs a beautiful bookmark to hold those charms that you saw near the beginning, and I've been carrying those little janglies for so long that I was too excited not to begin these next. I don't have a strap cutter, so I used washi tape and my ridiculously steady hands to cut straight straps manually. Each bookmark will have two small charms, one larger with both the symbol and name of the sign, and a smaller golden one with the symbol cut from the center. I use 2 pairs of jewelry pliers to open the jump rings that loop through the charms and connect them to a silver D-ring that will be the end cap of the leather bookmark. People usually make a point to avoid mixing metals, but I've made my literal brand off of mixing metals. Screw not mixing metals. I like gold and I like silver, and both remind me of space, and both are equally cool, so I'm being bold, brash, and declaring that this combination does not belong in the trash. To attach them, I loop the strap around the flat end of the D-ring and secure it with leather cement. It's a bit stronger than leather glue, with a longer drying period for maximum adhesion. Once they are all done, they are placed on the drying rack, so to speak. But hey, we've had a time jump and our text blocks and bookmarks are dry. I do preliminary attachment of the bookmarks with leather glue directly onto the spine itself. Don't worry, it'll be hidden in the final binding. This is also only one of 2 fixtures that will hold the bookmarks in place, later being the headbands. Books are made of a lot of glue, yes, but sometimes I guess we have to do a bit of sewing as well. This is a bit of a rudimentary depiction, but I have pre-planned a book project for once, copying down the symbols, constellations, and as well as designing the cover and spine layouts. I cut my covers from literal wall paneling that I buy from Lowe's, since I like my tomes to be heavy and durable enough to be loosely considered weapons. I fashioned my embossing layers with the cardboard backs of the sketchbooks I used. These are glued onto the wall paneling to add dimension that will be visible underneath the later covering of leather. I cut the first embossing pattern and then use it as a template for the rest, as they will all be uniform, at least in shape. Using a utility knife, I meticulously cut the contours of each board. Meanwhile, let's talk about spines. I've gotten a few questions in the past about my spine process, and while I don't show it on screen, I will give some verbal insight. If there's enough interest, I'll make a visual spine tutorial sometime in the future. Let me know if that's something that you'd want. I start by measuring the dimensions of the text block's spine, length from end to end, and width around the curve with a measuring tape. I then cut these measurements on flat cardboard, making sure to follow the direction of the bend in the cardboard for easier curving. I then wet them down slowly with warm water, bending them with my fingers as they soften, and then coat the front and back surfaces with light PVA glue while still wet. I then choose a vessel with a fitting curvature, typically I use Pringles cans, and then tie them around and allow to dry for over 48 hours. They will be stiff when removing and sufficiently curved. As you can see, I've sketched out my designs onto the 12 spines in preparation for my next step, modeling the topography with polymer clay. There are 3 separate designs here, which are my perhaps very abstract interpretations of the Zodiac Sign modalities. They are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Each encompasses 1 sign from each element. Another new piece of information I didn't know, and I got some guidance from my witchy friend for this, but modalities are representations of how each sign interacts with and views the world. Cardinal signs are bold initiators, bastions of charge. Fixed signs are enduring, dependable, and loyal rocks. Mutable signs are dynamic and changing. All 3 represent the seasons, cardinal being the initiators of the new season, fixed being the upholders of the central seasonal span, and mutable being the beckoners of change into the new season. These traits are all recognized and embodied in personalities and behaviors of the signs. I chose to represent them on the spines with principles of shape language, angular and directional arrow-like geometries for cardinal signs, sturdy and structurally dependable rectangular shapes for fixed signs, and circular, flowing symbols for the mutable signs. The leather I'm using will be black, and I specifically took that into account when designing these fairly complex embossing patterns, as black leather is what I've found to be the most malleable. Into the deep abyssal oven they go, in order to cook the clay. After they've cooled, I attach each spine to the front and back covers with PVA glue and canvas, leaving a small gap to act as a hinge for the final tomes. I then glue the embossing layer that had been cut out prior, which ended up being a single piece for the front and many different filler pieces from the excess shapes that go on the back. I interrupt this regularly scheduled programming to bring you a detour, finally finishing up the text blocks with their final few steps. Firstly, headbands. And, hearkening back to my stance that I will not abandon, I use silver and gold threading to give the books their complementary mixed metals. The process of headbands consists of piercing individual signatures and weaving around a leather cord or some other type of core, assuring that all stitching is properly attached to that ugly part on top of the book at the tip of the spine, as well as securing the bookmarks, which you never stitch directly through. And finally, for a completed text block, it is in dire need of cover pages. Some attach these later, some do it now, some would have done it even before this point, but I, having randomly with reckless abandon, having tried at all different intervals, don't really have much of a difference to report. I always leave at minimum an extra ½ inch on the side of the cover page that will attach to the covers, as you can always cut them shorter, but you certainly can't cut them longer, or at least I myself haven't yet attained the knowledge to do so. I glue them with just a small strip of glue next to the text block's first page. This is one of a few methods of attaching a cover sheet, but it is my preference. And now for the leathering. This baby is a half hide, an entire half of a cowskin, bought specifically and used for this project. I begin cutting it into 12 rectangles, each big enough with excess on all sides of the cover dimensions. This project has been about the loose definition of a template. For example, cutting out the first correctly sized leather square, and then cutting around that one, cutting out the embossing, the strap length. These are all the saving graces of this project that speed up production ever so slightly and maintain a livable level of sanity. Guys, I complain a lot, but really, I like making books, I promise. If you're familiar with my bookmaking videos by now, you know my process, and my bird. But if you're not, welcome, and come hither into my warm arms as I spin you a tale of leathering a book cover. One must begin from the center of the spine, with leather glue or leather cement, with a plan in your mind and your heart to work your way from the center outward to the edges. Using a bone folder, you must repeatedly stretch and run the tool in all the creases and across all the surfaces, focusing on smoothing out flat areas and bringing definition to contours. It takes diligence, patience, persistence, long-suffering, but by my name, my child, you have it within you. For if I, of all entities, have it within me, you certainly have it within you. And I grant you my blessing of productivity. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I do more complicated areas of embossing in section strips, since I like to take my time with each area and the glue would dry before I'd want to or give it permiss to do so. Therefore, this is my workaround. Sometimes I alternate from front to back, giving each section time to set in the glue so that when I return, it doesn't pull completed work away from completed areas. I do also press the embossing down first with my fingers. It is a simplifying step before the bone folder enters the chat. With the fronts of each cover type complete, I must now wrap the edges. I cut the corners, mind you, I don't cut corners, but I cut corners, if you know what I'm saying. This is to fold the edges down in quadrants. I always begin with the short sides, as the long sides also have spine curvature to deal with, and I like to put off undesirable tasks. Are you skeptical of my love for bookbinding yet? I breeze over the attachment part of the process here. It's been labeled an undesirable task in my brain's database, and I just didn't film it. Well, what have we here? A new type of closure, one I've never attempted before. I found a godsend of Amazon.com. Not sponsored, but I could be. No. Anyway, exactly 24 pieces, 12 sets of purse clasps. If this wasn't meant to be, I don't understand destiny. I first glue them to the leather straps with leather glue, but my friend, this is only momentary, a conduit to hold in place for their true, final glue, the glue that only a sewing needle can provide. I thread my needle, swallow my procrastination, and get to work. 24 stitches, 24 straps, 24 pieces of 12 sets of destiny. I measure and cut them down to size, punching holes and attaching them with the strongest mechanism of bookbinding that I have, the rivet. Even 2 rivets. This bad boy isn't going anywhere. I left a small area, you might have noticed, on the front and back of each book for these straps. Yeah, that's right, I had a plan. And as no one says but me, probably, sometimes a plan is not always a waste of time. Yeah, there they are, assembled and waiting hungrily for their final detailing, painting by mine own hand. So, Aries, I have a special story for you, specifically, my little Aries. In the year 2023 ACE, a tragedy occurred in the Killzone household. My 4TB hard drive that I'd carried with me for years, the sole keeper of my footage, suffered a disastrous set of errors, failures, and panic attack-inducing undesirable actions. It has come to be known as the terrible drive incident of 2023. It was a rush to the ER of a recovery company. While it lived with some injuries and suffered casualties. One of those casualties, Aries, was the footage of my painting your book. I cannot forgive myself or properly compensate you for this failure, this shortcoming of my name, but I have done my best. I have created a high-budget and high-effort reproduction to demonstrate the process of painting that turned your book from this to this. Aries is the first of the zodiac signs, whose dates of birth fall between March 21st to April 19th. As they are the opener of the beginning, they are the first cardinal sign, which is complementary to their initiatory boldness. Aries is a fire sign, and as they are also represented by the ram, this gives them the reputation of possessing a slightly aggressive passion and energy. Commonly cited, Aries always strive to be the best versions of themselves, leaders of the pack and bold to the core. They welcome in the new year with daring sense to try new things, take risks, and trudge through difficult situations with a fiery fearlessness that is a sight to behold. Oh, and what the heck, if whoever buys the Aries book tells me they saw this video, I'll throw in my beautiful sketch just for kicks and giggles. The second of the zodiac, Taurus, is represented by the bull. Born between April 20th to May 20th, they are the first of the fixed signs and a combination of laid back and hardworking. Partnered with this, they are of the element earth, which compounds upon their stable, dependable, and grounded nature. No matter the storm, Taurus possesses the capability to remain planted in anticipation of clearer skies. The bull, being a stubborn creature, also manifests in the nature of this sign in the form of stalwart conviction. Yet, with stubbornness sometimes cited as a shortcoming, one might find it lends to the dependability of a Taurus in your corner, and consider it irreplaceable to know someone of their unwavering loyalty. No matter the hardship, with a Taurus at your side, they are more than just a guide through such storms, they are an anchor. Geminis are our first mutable sign, signaling the change of the first season cycle. They are represented by a unique symbol known as the twins. The symbol represents duality as well as versatility. They are born between the days of March 21st to June 20th and are members of the air element, one known for its agility of many facets. Geminis are intellectuals, multifaceted and somewhat flighty. You might observe a Gemini taking time longer than others to settle into a new situation, as their nature of curiosity and migrating activity leads them in many directions. Though they're sometimes seen as a little unreliable, they come through with their inquisitive nature, excellent social aptitude, and welcome chattiness. Those who are lucky to have a Gemini in their corner find their bright minds and quick wit both entertaining and endearing. Our first water sign is Cancer, with the modality of cardinal as a new season begins. Born between June 21st and July 22nd, Cancers are represented by the crab. As a water sign, they are in some facets very emotionally in tune, and in the case of this sign, it manifests as a great capacity for love. They will tenaciously protect those who enter the realm of their care, and this lends to a deep sense of loyalty, but only to a select few. In being represented by the crab, their emotional capacity and sometimes mood swings will cause them to rescind into their shell. However, this does not stop them from being well-spoken and approachably sympathetic due to their complicated depths, for when they surface once more, those around them are greeted with a love that is unconditional and protectiveness by one who is competent and confident enough to do so. If any of you know that Leo the lion is the king of the jungle and his jaws are big and wide, you're already on the right track when it comes to getting an impression of Leos. However, of course, as with all things, there is far more to them than that. Born on the days of July 23rd to August 22nd, this fixed fire sign is driven by a bold fearlessness that is partnered with a magnetic charisma, creating a being of many strengths. But with strength can come pride, as with a lion, which can give way to materialism and status. All things in moderation, however, and Leos that have found this balance find themselves among ambitious leaders with a passion for seeking their dreams in the most enjoyable ways possible. A Leo in their most realized headspace is a childishly happy yet creative and pleasurable presence who can harness this playful heart with strength and confidence. To close our second season, we have the mutable Virgo. Those of this sign are born between August 23rd and September 22nd, and are represented by a symbol known as the maiden. This symbol is intended as the ideal of wholeness and methodical efficiency, making Virgos an incredibly reliable and resourceful sign. They are more comfortable than most, taking on responsibilities that give them a sense of duty and value. With the belief that they are the best person to do the job, a mindset such as this can wear down even the strongest of the zodiac, causing this sign to be particularly hard on themselves in their pursuit of accomplishment. But when striking a balance, Virgo is capable of handling the change that comes with the second season, and all that change of a similar nature may entail, leading to a reliable and detail-oriented sign that is an immense help to those in their presence, as well as a beautiful and graceful strength. The cardinal Libra is the opening sign of the third season, birthed between September 23rd to October 22nd. The combination of cardinality matched with an air sign produces a creature of straightforward strength and impressionism. Libras are represented by the scales, the epitome of justice, balance, and advocates of equity partnered with intelligence. This sense of equality leads a Libra to seek fairness and appeasement for all, and the reality of this being unfortunately impossible leads them to hit a wall of dissatisfaction and energy burnout. When a Libra tips their scales into a balanced position, they become a peacemaker, a caring and compassionate leader and lover of all, and someone who wishes to spread that love to any, no matter what identification. Any and all can find intrinsic value for themselves under the care and protection of a Libra. The eighth sign of the zodiac is the fixed Scorpio, a water sign born between the days of October 23rd to November 21st. As a fixed sign, upholding the center of the season, Scorpios pair their groundedness with emotional intuition, holding fast to their own elusive internal mysteries and seeking to discover others. Their fixed nature causes them to be somewhat secretive, especially in dealings with their element of water. Vulnerability may be construed as weakness in their minds, and often they keep inside themselves yet intricately understand others. They are eloquent and curious, partnering their mystery with stability. With their strengths, Scorpios provide a deep intuition into their dealings and an indescribable captivation over those who know them, and their deep understanding of others, when implemented with those for whom they care for, can provide an insightful and compassionate listener. Sagittarius, the ninth sign of the zodiac, births dating from November 22nd to December 21st, close the third season with their mutable modality. A Sagittarius houses the element of fire within their wise and strong souls, known often by others as seekers of truth and new experiences. They are represented by the symbol of the archer, a swift and decisive symbol that is also ever moving when paired with their modality. A Sagittarius will seek connection in other beings, which can grow complicated when that inclination meets their need for change and expansion. Though they may be non-committal and sometimes a bit difficult to pin down, they are often viewed in high respects as adventurous and spiritual, optimistically brightening the lives of those who stumble into their path. Our 10th sign is represented by a notoriously recognizable symbol, so it is where we will begin when describing our dear Capricorns. The sea goat is a mythological water creature of half goat, half fish, and was commonly interpreted in the Capricornus constellation to depict as such. Despite the symbol, they are an earth sign, carrying a cardinal modality to beckon in the final season of the zodiac. Born between December 22nd and January 19th, Capricorns are initiators, commanding authority with their presence. They embody responsibility, diligence, and discipline. Naturally, this makes them very competent leaders, but you may be sensing a caveat, that being their potential ruthlessness, or alternatively, tendency to exclude those that might not perform to their standards. While this is sometimes a negative trait of a Capricorn, when they strike the precious balance between personal relationships and personal goals, they can make an ambitious, inspiring rock of security for you to rely upon. Between January 20th and February 18th are the dates of classification for the sign Aquarius. As the final fixed modality, they sit in the center of the last season, intermingling their fixed and stalwart nature with the freedom and detachment of the air element. An Aquarius tends to be progressive and a visionary soul, keeping much room inside themselves for humanitarianism and selfless acts stemming from sympathy. Represented by what is called the water bearer, or the cup carrier, this symbol embodies a mystical healer who bestows life, or water, upon the land from its constellation in the sky. With the freedom of the air, those of this sign tend to be incredibly innovative, stretching into the bounds of eccentricity, caring little of social normalities and more for their independence. This hyper-independence can sometimes lead to distance between them and others in relationships, as they value time to themselves and may often forget the needs of those close to them. However, for what they might sometimes lack in one-on-one dynamics, they more than make up for with global levels of passion, vision, and change for the greater good for all. And our final sign of the astrological zodiac, Pisces, ranging from the days of February 19th to March 20th. This makes Pisces a mutable sign, the final one to close out not only the season, but the whole astrological year. The mutability of this sign, partnered with the element of water, combines to create a dreamy, spiritual, and empathetic being who cares more for creation, emotion, and beauty wrapped in a complete bundle than any of the aspects of the waking world. Represented by the fish, swimming amongst the flow of the world, they find themselves drifting between being caught in the stream, drifting lazily with it, or swimming against its current. Deeply emotionally in tune, they are empathetic to all those around them, but often many may find Pisces tend to get lost in their own minds, leading to scattered trains of thought, forgetfulness, or a distracted dissociation from the world and those around them. For those who can capture the attention of a Pisces, they note them as creative, caring, and inspiring creatures. And of course, I add my signature as a final touch. With that, my 12 zodiac tomes are all complete, each with their element, modality, constellations, and symbols implemented individually into their designs. This means that I did it! I completed my biggest book project to date, and I hope you enjoyed watching me arrive here to this point. Whether you're a practicer, casual partaker, or not at all involved with the astrological zodiac, as I myself am no expert or practicer by any means, I hope you enjoyed the process of the construction, assembly, and final detailing of these journals. Thank you very much for joining me on this fine day and following my bookbinding journey. Whether you've been watching for a while or this is the first video of mine you've seen, welcome here or welcome back, and I hope this was pleasant for your cute little brain. And as I write this, while this cottagecore playlist I'm listening to informs me that I'm a lonely country girl, lost and wandering deeper and deeper into a dark wood on the outskirts of my property, I wish you all a wonderful morning, evening, and night. Not afternoon, though. If you're watching in the afternoon, actually, now you're cursed. Sorry about that.